All right. Well, this is, I guess, today's indoor progress. Shortly after making the quick outdoor progress stymied video, I was sitting and kind of had a little video I've made and was working on uh, doing the double stabilization to make the background warp around like I do. And I had this kind of weird urge to take a nap, and I didn't. And you can see here there's a little overflow from the Cove Gap. It's been since 2019 since that's actually flooded. Now, I think I figured out what happened already. The groundhog hole up top kind of acted like a funnel. And it's been enough rain all night and all day here, probably 2 inches or more, that the ground is completely saturated. So as long as this floodwater does not reach back up to the cove, it really won't get inside. And the other part of the house like it did last time, I've got the shop vac going here. I'm not going anywhere. And but this is what's up, unfortunately. But this thing's blocking it. The little bit that's coming here was actually backflow mostly. Although there's a little bit, I guess, that came out of here and ran down. So everything from behind there ran down this side instead. Now what you got on the floor there is borax and cinnamon from the carpenter ants and a bunch of dish soap. So what I vacuum out is, I'll show you in a second. I'm not opening the door in there. There is a tiny bit of squish of moisture. I got the dehumidifier running on high right next to it. It didn't actually flood out of here. It just dampened everything. And there's a tiny bit coming out from basically underneath of the drywall where the concrete and tile meet. And that's been kind of filling up. Since I got these trays, you don't really have to worry too much about cat stuff on the floor. But anyways, I did not heed my nap time urge. If I had, I may have to edit that. I would have come in to realize that the floor was wet. Now it's not too bad in here. This end is a little bit higher, or something. I don't know. Or this is not. The ground is so much lower on this side, and I went and checked. The ground is completely saturated. The gutters are not clogged. The outlets to the downspouts are not clogged. So this side over here, this is all run through. There's a little gap that it goes through in here. That's being sopped up by blankets. This in here is just a seepage that has really not done much but barely add to that. And the floor inside the closet is just barely damp. So it's really not getting through a lot of places. And like I said, as long as what happened the first time was it took a trip into town during the storm to get more water pumps, and came because the last one we had broke, and came back to find that the thing had filled itself completely up back to the line, and then that caused it to go in through the other room here. Now, after everybody left and it was just me and the shit kept happening, I got figured out to cover I fixed the problem, waited for the rain. That was the whole thing that happened on the... By the way, this might be the anniversary of the day she left. It's pretty damn close. Anyways, you can see the suds here. That's from what was vacuumed up. But the whole reason I have this little tin roof thing going on here is to deflect water away. But there's this gopher hole here, this groundhog hole. So I've gone ahead and plugged that, and I need to do something better to cover it, but that's all I got. And in that way that they get in, I don't really know how to stop them from doing it, other than taking if I maybe take the tin off and completely fill the pit with the rest of gravel like I haven't filled in here. But Yeah, it's kind of a replay, but I have new techniques. So basically, it's catching everything that flows here. Keeping it right there. Keeps it from going any more into the other room. And then when this stops, I have to empty it and put it back on. And when I get it emptied and put back, the water will be higher up. And this will continue until the rain stops and for probably half a day after. So I believe it was the gopher that kind of, or the groundhog. I believe it was the groundhog hole that probably did that, but also the complete saturation of the soil. This is flowing. It's not flooded. There's nothing preventing drainage. It's flowing. And that is the outlet for all of that side. It's getting close to being full. Hear the harmonic shift. So that's all I got for this moment. So what happened was I had this urge to nap, and I didn't because the video about subconscious, temporal, everything's forward and backward in some way, and we just don't see it. As I was making that, the water was creeping up. Probably made ingress the moment I felt like taking a nap. Barely got in because I found out because April jumped up onto my lap and she had cold damn feet, and I was like, why are your feet wet? That's what happened the last time. And so I went and checked, and yep, sure enough. I was like, okay. I didn't flip out. I didn't get pissed. I didn't even panic. I was just like, okay, vacuum cleaner's right there. We're going to do it right here. And so that's what I got going in the other room. It's unfortunately opened up to the outside a little bit, but this loud ass vacuum's going. And it's keeping it up, but it's not going to stop until the rain is done. This sucks for my electric bill. In the meantime, I came through this doorway. I'm not going to do that again. There's a little squish and some weird funky black shit. Some of the cinnamon dish soap and dead ants from underneath at the edge where they were coming in squished up. It is safe to say that any that were in there are probably gone now. But anyways, it is, at this point, I think the worst of it is past, and it's just going to be a matter of letting the rain stop. Once I get finished with this video, I'm going to check the weather. But I just wanted to kind of follow up on the previous segment in that it was once again a cat with wet feet being like, hey, boop, on my lap. And I'm like, oh, why are your feet wet? Let's go look at the front room. Nothing's coincidental. Nothing's coincidental. There's other stuff. So, I don't know. It's going to be a minute before this whole thing goes up. And when it does, it's just going to be kind of how my day went. But this is my indoor progress. So, regarding discussions that I actually had today with someone in comments, and regarding the content of the original source material for the backward podcast and all that other stuff. As stated in the original material, with time and practice, you can become aware of Archontic shenanigans long in advance. Just today, I was watching something that kind of talked about, and I was dubious of this, and I'm still not 100%, but it was kind of talking about rejecting the idea of soul contracts and rejecting the entire reincarnation process, and that the only actual way to get out correctly to reach Pleroma involves certain particular steps. And I don't really believe the steps. I think that's some hogwash. But the interesting concept being that, like, you know, the universe will fight to maintain order. It will reassert itself. And the Archontic system, including people contained within it, will fight to keep you locked inside of it. But recognizing things long in advance is an acquired talent. It's a thing you can do. This kind of pertains to today's topical content of duration, causality, directionality of both, which are, fifth, seventh, eighth dimensional operations. I've known that yesterday or today would be some kind of moment, a thing would happen. I've known this, known it for about a week. Prior to that, have been kind of waiting on a few things. And ironically, not talking about that topic in it, but the video that I never uploaded, that I, however, did reverse and then do the text on screen analysis of, but it's unlisted and you can't see it, and I'm not going to show you. Definitely kind of pertain to that. Specifically some mentions of Stranger in a Strange Land, I believe. And if it wasn't in that video, it was in a prior one that I also didn't upload. But so it's all these things that are in my subconscious and they're still there. And some of these things come back around or whatever. And they come back around with certain timing. And they do so in a certain way. Whether it's a particular earworm tune pops into your head and won't go away, and the lyrics of that tune are like, oh, wow, maybe I should heed the warning. And sometimes it doesn't make any sense and you don't figure it out until after the fact. Events like today are not punishment. They're not even a test. I was aware for months that there would be a minor inconvenience coming my way. And everything in the reverse speech analyses that I've done that had any context to this were regarding the roof. But it's a foundation, groundwater issue, not a roof issue. However, the initial time that it flooded, we didn't know what was happening and thought it might be the roof. Now, the other thing is there are a bunch of things that if you know, you know. And if you don't know, then I'm sorry, I'm not going to explain it. Some of the things in the Backward podcast kind of are references to that era of my life or people from that era. As well, some of those are in the one that I have made unlisted but not public, which you'll never get to see. The few things that do actually pertain to anything surrounding my life or anything that I can, understand what the hell they are at this point, basically point at that. And all of that was things that were in an era that ended coinciding with the first time that this flooding happened. So, I have no idea what to make of it precisely. I do know that it's something that's been on the radar, and that once it became observable on the radar, you could use the sensors long distance and be like, oh, it looks like a ship. It's a planet. It's an event. And the event is something that thankfully I know how to deal with. So at this point, it looks like the rain's kind of stopped. Slight drizzle only. If it doesn't keep raining, it's going to take a day or two for the ground to drain out. But at this time, it looks like the water level is definitely receding in the Cove Gap crack. The way that works is there is a single gap between the old foundation's exterior and the patio block, which became an interior floor, that no matter what you do, you cannot seal it because there's expansion and movement. So I've got a drain solution outside that, generally speaking, takes care of this. Before apparently got inundated this time. Everything's functioning and it still did it. The side that's flooding is actually a higher side of the room than the side that's not flooding, but the side that's not flooding has a bunch of fabric stuffed into the Cove Gap because that's where the ants came in, and there was a bunch of ant killer sprayed in there, as well as soap and borax and cinnamon. But that side, the ground level and the water table are actually below where the Cove Gap sits. So that one doesn't really have a lot of water coming in. All the water in that side is actually fill up from the other side, which is the high side, which makes it kind of pressure toward moving But again, it doesn't really have anywhere to go, and it doesn't have a lot coming in through there. And so it mostly overflows right at the source. It wasn't coming out super hard. It didn't have the kind of water pressure that it did the first time, thankfully. But it is still currently trickling in. It's going to continue trickling in at least probably till tomorrow. I would not be surprised. So it just depends on how much is coming in as to whether I have to run the vacuum or just keep stocking towels up and hope that I don't run out. So the final thing on this whole bit of kind of seeing things in advance too is that this is something I saw in advance in a way that I know how this goes, is that the reason I know it's not a test or a punishment is that it is simply a balancing step. If you're familiar with anything alchemic, philosophically, you might understand it. I don't think that's what they call it, but this is a step where the alchemist has to give something of equal exchange in exchange for something. And I haven't cast a spell. This is simply put upon me in my lap. I deal with this, and in exchange, something that has been bothering me will be taken care of. I don't know what it is exactly, but we're going to see. So, unless something major changes or happens, that's all I've got. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to put these all together, and then, or if I'm going to do two separate chunks, but I'll probably do them as one. And then when this flooding finally stops, I will do an update at that point.